The American web is a term that's used to describe the network of trade that linked parts of pre-Columbian Americas. Although it was less intense and complete than the Afro-Eurasian trade networks, this trade nonetheless provided a means of exchange for luxury goods and ideas over large areas. That is, the American web. The Black Death is a name that was given to the massive epidemic that swept Eurasia in the 14th century. It may have been bubonic plague, anthrax, or a collection of epidemic diseases. We do not know for sure what the Black Death was, but we do know that it killed masses of people during that time period. Borobudur is the largest Buddhist monument ever built. Borobudur is a mountainous 10-level monument with an elaborate carving program on it, probably built around the 9th century CE by the Cilindrus rulers of Central Java, and it's an outstanding example of cultural exchange and syncretism, or the mixing of religious ideas with another religious idea in this case. The bubonic plague was a highly fatal disease that was transmitted by fleas. It devastated the Mediterranean world between 534 and around 750 CE, and again in the period 1346 to 1350 CE. The difference between bubonic plague and the Black Death is that in the case of the Black Death, we don't know what it was. We just know it was a big epidemic that killed people, whereas we do know exactly what the bubonic plague was, and it refers to a specific disease. The next one is Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. That's a series of important states that developed in western and central Sudan in the period from 500 to around 1600 in the Common Era, and it was in response to the trans-Saharan trade, especially the control of gold production. So as these things occur and we see wealth and opportunities there, we see the kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai being formed. Great Zimbabwe was a very powerful state in the African interior that apparently emerged from growing trade in gold to the East African coast, and then it flourished between 1250 and around 1350 in the Common Era. Ibn Battuta is a famous Muslim traveler who visited much of the Islamic world in the 14th century and wrote a major account of what he saw. The Indian Ocean Trade Network is the world's largest sea-based system of communication and exchange before 1500 in the Common Era. Indian Ocean commerce stretched from southern China to eastern Africa, and included not only the exchange of luxury and bulk goods, but also the exchange of ideas and crops. The Ji people were a nomadic people who controlled much of northern China in the 3rd and 4th centuries, and many converted to Buddhism. Malaysians are speakers of Austronesian languages from what is now Indonesia, who became major traders in Southeast Asia and also in Madagascar. Monsoons are those alternating wind currents that blew eastward across the Indian Ocean in the summer and westward in the winter, and this allowed for sailors to trade using the wind patterns. Oasis cities of Central Asia were cities such as Merv, Samarkand, Khotan, and Dutuang. These became centers of trans-Eurasian trade. Poshteca were professional merchants among the Aztecs. Cilindrus was a kingdom out of Central Java that flourished from the 8th century to the 10th century in the Common Era. It's noted for being deeply influenced by Indian culture. The sand roads is a term that was used to describe the routes of the trans-Saharan trade in Africa. Silk roads was the land-based trade routes that linked Eurasia. Srivijaya was a Malay kingdom that dominated the Straits of Malacca between 670 and 1025 CE. It's noted for its creation of a native Indian hybrid culture. Sudan comes from the word that means land of black people, and it was a large region of West Africa that became part of a major exchange circuit. The Swahili civilization was an East African civilization that emerged in the 8th century from a blending of Bantu, Islamic, and other Indian Ocean trade elements. Third wave civilizations are those civilizations that emerged between 500 and 1500 in the Common Era and were typified by intensifying trade networks. Trans-Saharan slave trade was a fairly small-scale trade that developed in the 12th century in the Common Era. It existed by exporting West African slaves who were captured in raids across the Sahara for sale mostly as household servants in Islamic North Africa. Did not do very well, mainly because of the difficulty of traveling across the desert. Definitely hindered being able to get much of a trade going there. Venice. Venice was an Italian city that by 1000 in the Common Era emerged as a major center of Mediterranean trade.